when I got into real estate, I immediately followed the model and started a team. My first year, personally, I probably did something like 7.5 or 8 million. I think one thing people need to realize when it comes to social media, which is probably my number one channel for building business and my number one referral stream, is your vibe attracts your tribes. If I were to say that the main two things I did to build my business, and whether it was real estate, whether it was any business that I ever wanted to build or tried to build, I always leveraged my audiences that I already had. And typically it was going to be through social media or through being very visible in the community, very visible in the industries that I was involved in.
What's going on, guys? Out of Jersey. Today, we got Kenyon Hunter on call. He's one of the top Wolfpack leaders here at eXp Realty. He's grown a large organization quickly. We're going to talk about how he got into the business. He started out in sales, then he stumbled his way into real estate back in 2016, started at KW, went to Compass, and now he's here at eXp Realty, building a team with us. We're going to talk about social media today, guys. We're going to talk about different types of ways to generate leads and run your business. And also, we're going to transition a little bit towards the end, the types of content he's creating around motivation for agents, which is really big, and entrepreneurs right now in the industry. So we're going to talk about how he's using this to scale his business. Kenyon, thanks for your time. Thanks for popping on the show. Let's get you on here. What made you decide to get into real estate back in 2016 in the first place? You were doing sales and you're kind of running around doing lots of different things, but what really made you decide to get into real estate? And then let's talk about how you got into social media, what you're doing with it, and how others can do what you're doing to build a business like you built. But how'd you get into real estate?
Yeah, man. Awesome, man. Hey, first of all, Connor, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate your friendship, the brotherhood, and the leadership that we have here at the Wolfpack. It's amazing. So without me, I can talk about that all day. But how did I get into real estate? Man, you know, my journey in real estate was interesting because I never intended to be a real estate agent, to be honest with you. You know, most of my life I was in sales. I mentioned, you know, before we started recording off camera that in high school, I worked at Circuit City. I was selling cell phones when these things were like $1 or $2 a minute. And I was 16 years old and I just loved connecting with people. So that's what got me into the sales world. And then, you know, I spent most of my career in tech sales. So I worked for some large companies like Microsoft and IBM, AT&T in tech sales. And I was into the strategic technology stuff, working with Fortune 1000 companies. But I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and I never quite knew how or what I wanted to be an entrepreneur for, right? Or an entrepreneur of. So I read Gary Keller's book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the Red Book. And I said, well, you know what? I never wanted to be a real estate agent, but I did like the system side of it, right? The model part of it. And before, you know, 2008, I lived in Baltimore, Maryland, and I did some investing. I flipped about 40 homes with a couple of my friends. And I was very familiar with the real estate world, but I actually couldn't stand agents back then. I thought agents were like lazy. I thought they were not great, you know, sales professionals. But when I saw the model side of it, that's what attracted me. So when I got into real estate, I immediately followed the model and started a team. My first year, personally, I probably did something like 7.5 or 8 million as a dual career agent because I still worked at IBM at the time. And a lot of people would always ask, like, hey, I was under the impression that you've been a real estate agent for a long time because, you know, one, how to do that much production. And I understand that you also work a tech gig. But for me, the key to it was, you know, I didn't come at it from a real estate perspective. I came at it from a business perspective. I think a lot of agents come into the business, whether it's, you know, it was the family business or whether they, you know, turned 18 or came from another industry. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you understand the way corporations are structured, you understand the way business works, I think that yields to become the most successful real estate professional, whether you're an agent, team leader, broker, you start a brokerage, or you're at a great model like the one we have where you can build your own business within a larger organization. So that's how I got into it, man. I wanted to start a team. I wanted to help empower agents, and that was always my goal. So I did produce as much as I did for the first 2 or 3 years because one thing I believed in was how could I empower a lot of agents to do something that I never did myself? So that was the reason why I did focus on production while I built my team over the first 3 years. And for the past few years, and one of the main reasons, you know, I made the switch from Compass to EXP was I wanted to empower agents at scale. And to do that, once again, it came down to the model that was going to allow me to do that freely.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty common. I see a lot of times, including myself as an investor first before I got my license. A lot of times, investors I think are a little bit more entrepreneurial than the agents mindset because they're taking on risk and they
Right.
you have a lot more liability when you're building an investment business. You can go broke flipping a house, you could lose 100 grand, but you can't go broke selling that same house. And I guess you could,
Absolutely.
spend too much trying to run the open house or something like that. But it seems to me there's a lot more people that want to build a business on the investment side when they come over to a model like this because they're used to taking risk and used to kind of doing that type of stuff. And a lot of agents are more focused on just sales. But because of the XP and the model that we have now, it creates an entrepreneurial opportunity for all sales agents that I think a lot of them wanted to build residual income in the past with the revenue or with rental income, but they always were kind of risk averse. They never wanted to take it on, or they didn't think they had the money or the skill sets to do it. But now because of the XP's revenue share model, they can build residual income alongside with their license. And this is a much better option for them because they don't have to raise debt. They don't have to, deal with contractors stealing from and all the
Yeah.
management of tenants, toys, termites, and all that type of stuff. But so when you got in, to the business, was it a quick start? Did you struggle a little bit? And then how did you kind of develop your social media strategy that you're using now? And how has that impacted your business? And let's go into some of the things that you're using your channels and all your social media content for.
Yeah. So to be totally honest, I wish I had a story, a rags to riches story when it came to it, a struggle story, but it wasn't a struggle for me. I mean, like I said, my first 7 months of being in real estate, 'cause I received my license in July of 2016, I want to say. And between July and December 31st, I did about 7.5, 8 million. And the
Nice.
reason why I was able to do it was I already had a social media following because previously I was one of the early Instagram adopters. So I had a crowd on Instagram already, and I pretty much just leveraged the audience that I had. And I didn't change my approach to, I guess, cultivating my audience because I think one thing people need to realize when it comes to social media, which is probably my number one channel for building business and my number one referral stream, is your vibe attracts your tribe. So back in the day, I was a big sneakerhead, so I had the sneaker culture following, and then I was always into cars and dressing cool or fashion and stuff like that. So I had that following, in addition to my own personal social network. So if I were to say that the main two things I did to build my business, and whether it was real estate, whether it was any business that I ever wanted to build or tried to build, I always leveraged my audiences that I already had. And typically it was going to be through social media or through being very visible in the community, very visible in the industries that I was involved in. For example, when I was in real estate, well, when I first started real estate, I wasn't from the area. I didn't grow up in the South Jersey area where I live now. I've been here for about 11 years, but I was always in tech. So I worked remote or I was traveling. So I never knew a lot of people locally. So as a real estate agent, how do you get your name out there, right? Because I want to sell where I live. I was just going to every open house, no matter who the agent was. I was going to brokers opens. I was going to any networking event that I knew was real estate related, or any networking event that I knew was people related. Because the beauty about real estate is, our client is everyone because everybody wants to buy, sell, or invest or lease real estate. So it doesn't even have to be necessarily a real estate event. It can just be a people event. So I always tell people the key to my fast start was I already knew how to connect with people, and I already knew how to get people from, hey, what are you looking to do and what are you trying to achieve, to becoming that bridge to help them get to it. So that was my approach to real estate.
Yeah, I mean, I struggled for a while when I got into business, and what kind of turned my trajectory around was to go to a lot of the local networking events, the REI clubs, and this
Yep.
is where I developed a lot of, my sphere of influence and the people that got me connected to the people I need to get connected to and point in the right direction. And I think a lot of
Right.
young entrepreneurs, especially post pandemic, they don't really see the value in going out and networking. Most people want to kind of stay at home, but I would say urge you
Yeah.
guys to get out there to the local networking events. They don't have to be massive. Some of these ones I was going to had 20, 30 people, maybe 50 to 100, but this is really where I developed a lot of the relationships. There are career relationships that helped me get here. So we'd urge you to guys do that work for both of us. But
Yep.
you mentioned when you got in, you were using Instagram. So for like an agent or someone that's been in like corporate, or they're just coming out of college and they're just now getting into real estate, they're getting their license or just did, and they have fallen like you did, or they're building their social media and they're using Instagram, what would be some of the things that you do or tell them to do as far as advice as they're getting into the industry or just getting licensed? How should they start using that following And then if they don't have a following, what would you be doing to start building that following? So kind of those two separate things. Let's go into.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you said that about the pandemic. I had a meeting this morning with a commercial real estate agent, and I think even I got spoiled with the pandemic from being here at my home office. We're at Starbucks. It's a beautiful day out here on the East Coast. And I was telling him, like, it feels good to be out here, just to be outside and meeting with him. And,
Yep.
just like Connor said, I was meeting with this commercial real estate agent because he actually said, hey, I know nothing about selling residential condos. And I got a couple clients that they have their personal condos they need to sell. So I'm going to be calling you. Right. So once again, another referral stream from just getting out there and meeting people. But to answer your question, so I'll start with the second part first. So if you don't have a following today, how would you build a following? So it goes back to my favorite saying, your vibe attracts your tribe. I would say if you're brand new, figure out what are those 3 or 4 things that resonate with you and that you like. And that's what you build your content around, right? Because if you're a foodie, then post about food. Tell people in your local area where to get the best cheesesteak from, who has the best brick oven pizza, where is the most authentic Italian spot. If you're a parent, post about the best parks to go to, the most child-friendly playgrounds. Post about, your kids' sports. Do things that are going to attract like-minded people. I have an agent under me who does zero real estate marketing, right? But he's a part-time agent, but he'll do 3 to 4 million a year. You know how he does it? He coaches his son's AAU basketball team. He loves basketball. I actually grew up with him and we went to the same high school. 90% of his clients are parents of basketball players that play with his son or that he coaches or in his league. So, and his social media is geared around real estate and, hey, I coach my son's AAU basketball team, ball is life. And that's how he gets it. So imagine if he was to be a full-time agent, right? You can at least say he could probably triple that 3.5 to 4 million, right? And there's not many agents that wouldn't do that because 90% of the agents in the industry don't sell more than, $2.5 million a year, or numbers probably even higher. It's probably more like 97% of the industry. So I would say find those things that you're passionate about and your crowd will attract to it. And then a lot of people say, well, Kenyon, okay, but if I start posting that stuff, I don't have any followers. Well, engagement is huge. And you know this, Connor, right? Find those people who have those similar interests, use hashtags, use the explore page, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, and start engaging with those other people who have those big followings. Because when you're engaging with them and you're in their comments, you're liking, other people see that. They want to know who you are. They're going to come to your page and they're going to say, wow, this is similar content to that other page I like. And they may be more attracted to your page and they'll want to follow you as well. So it's a process, though. I'm not going to sit here and act like, you're going to do that for 2 weeks and have, 10,000 followers. You're not. That's a 6 month, 12-month, 18 months, 24-month process to really build a big following. And it's also consistency. I think one of the best tips I can give too is spend an hour a day on social media and split it in two. A half hour of producing and creating content, and then a half hour of engaging in other people's content. And you'll see your audience grow and grow and grow. I love to give examples because I think real life examples are the best. So another agent under my organization, she actually started with me. We were at Compass, and she told me right from the beginning, she said, hey, Kay, I want to be a luxury agent in Philadelphia. And I said, great, and I was trying to kind of playing big brother, like, hey, but start small. Like, you're new, go after whatever you can get, normal residential stuff. And she said, yep, but I'm going to be a luxury agent. So you know what she did? She started finding luxury listings in Center City, all the hot neighborhoods in Philadelphia. She had a drone guy that was willing to come to these listings with her. She would call the agent and say, hey, do you mind if I do a tour of your property? I'm going to bring my drone guy, and obviously I'll give you credit on the social media saying that, hey, this listing is by so-and-so. So she was going to all these listings, doing these amazing, creating amazing content through video and getting drone footage. And, 6 months went by and she still wasn't getting any business from it necessarily yet. Probably a year went by, still nothing significant. But right now we're looking about maybe 14 months or so later, she's getting DMs from people from all over the world wanting to know, hey, when's the next luxury home going up in that neighborhood that I saw your video on? She went viral. So she went from a couple thousand followers to I think 40,000 plus followers because she just kept doing it. She was consistent. Even when people were telling her, you do all this luxury stuff, but you're not doing any luxury business. Well, now she's doing luxury business just from being super consistent. So that just gives people an example.
That's awesome, man. We need to get her on the show. I love. There's a
Yeah.
handful kind of going viral
Yeah.
right now in the group where I've seen people go from like 1,000 to 50,000 real quick. So it can happen real fast. But I think
It
the new thing is to be successful is to be a basketball coach because, uh, Jeremy Kane's a basketball coach, and then Dan
yeah.
Williamson's, we got like 4 or 5 that are team leaders and top producers. But what that means is that they're tapping into their micro market. So what y'all should think of
Yeah.
is how to be the micro market connector alpha, meaning, let's say in the soccer team world, your kid's soccer team or the basketball team, or your local charity, or your local whatever it is, right? Find a micro universe where there's a collective group of people that share in that little world, and become the alpha, meaning the one that people see the most and that's connected with everybody, and you're going to be the one that people come to get connected to others as well as ask for advice, and that's going to lead you to a lot of opportunities, not just in business but just in general in life. But let's talk about, but yeah, I like that the fact that you're talking about engagement a little bit. I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of people think about that. I think most people are just thinking about chopping out content, get as much out on the front side as possible. So when you're going to some of these big platforms, you say you're going to like someone's maybe like a few 100,000 followers on Instagram,
Hmm.
and you're
Right.
getting in the comment thread, or you're sending them a direct message, or
Yeah.
how would that look from an engagement side on kind of how you start that process? Like, what would be you're engaging on other people's comments in the thread, or you're responding to the actual post itself? Like, how do you kind of stir that up a little bit?
Yeah, and I'm glad you put it that way because I technically didn't answer the other part of your question, but I can answer it in this same category. So if I have a following, or I know other people with followings, then I want to just tap into them. So one, I'm not going to be unauthentic in engaging, right? I'm not going to comment on something that I don't like. If they have a pink Chevy Chevette from 1982 all beat up, I'm just not commenting on it, right? I'm not interested in that. But if they have the brand new Ford Lightning with some 36-inch, 40-inch wheel, I mean, something crazy, or they have a Lambo like our buddy Mike Sherrod, right? I'm commenting on that because I love that stuff, right? I love cars, and I'll comment like, man, that's fire. And then a lot of times what I do is I will DM certain people. And like I DM'd a guy over in the UK, right? You probably know this, Connor, and you can see it's on this side. I'm a big old school BMW lover. So I love the E30 M3s, the E46 M3s, and you've probably seen me post a lot about it. There was a guy in the UK that had this sick E46 M3. He had it lowered. And I told him, I DM'd him, I said, hey, man, listen, I lowered mine, but I'm rubbing like crazy and I'm running through tires, man. How'd you do it? And he responds, hey, mate, thanks for reaching out. I shaved the wheel wells. That'll solve your issue, right? Who knows if that guy's ever going to say, by the way, mate, I see you're a real estate agent. I got a buddy moving to the Northeast, to the tri-state area. Don't know if you can help him. Maybe you can. You just never know, right? When you do that. So there's real estate agents out there, or real estate brokers, or team leaders, boutique broker owners. If I just like what they're doing, I like the homes that they're displaying, I like their content, there's nothing wrong with reaching out via DM in the comment section. Hey, man, love your content. Hey, Jessica, that house you posted, amazing, right? Just my style. Like, you're just making, authentic conversation with people. And I will say that authenticity is key, right? Because people know when you're just DMing them or you're commenting and just being very
Right.
generic with it. Only just look for things that you would comment on normally. Like, I find it weird how people have no problem commenting or trying to engage with a celebrity that's not going to ever respond to you, or not even going to acknowledge your attempt to engage with them. But why not engage with regular people or peers just like you? People that actually are going to be very welcoming to your engagement, people that would love to answer a question, maybe lead you in the right direction, maybe give you some advice, or maybe benefit from just being connected to you at the end of the day. So I think engagement is key, and just any way you can do it, liking, commenting, DMing, inviting them to, be on your platform. Hey, man, you want to do a live? I noticed you do a lot of homes in that new development, and I have a bunch of clients looking there. Please, would you be open to doing a 10-minute live on Facebook or Instagram, sharing details about some of the homes that are going to be coming up? Like, there's so many ways you can just open up the door to a conversation and a door to make a new connection.
Yeah, I mean, so many people are trying to get something from these busy people, and it's always just like, how can I get something from you? So, by pointing out something about them that makes them feel good about themselves, people are going to remember how you make them feel. So, if you're always just
Absolutely.
waking up with a daily intent to everybody you come across to leave life better for them, don't cut someone off on the highway, help someone pick someone up if they dropped it, doing little
Right.
small things, but it's one, you're developing a self-image of yourself that's strong, but also just this many things you're doing good for people in the community. Eventually some of them are going to realize, just like I said, he's an agent. Who do you want to work with? Someone that you don't trust and feels like a bad person, or someone that, hey, I had a pretty good interaction with the first time, and I can track the internet, see that they're actually successful in doing what they're saying, and I know this is a good person and they're like me. So one of the things that I like to do is reach out to people with shared hobbies, or anything that you can see that they're posting repeat content about, where it's all the time about their car or their family or their hobby. They're always posting golf, or they're always posting, for me, like fishing stuff. So someone reached
Right.
out to me and was like, hey, look, let's check out this bass, right? It's going to catch my attention because it shows to me that they're actually paying attention to who I am. So when you engage with someone in a way that it says it's not surface level, where I just looked at your account for 5 seconds, but they can tell that you know who they are and what's important to them. It creates a lot higher likelihood that they're going to engage back, and also follow you back as well, and lead to business down the road. But
Yeah, and also, Connor, think about this. The old saying, people love to do business with people they like, right? I mean, if you love fishing and you see somebody that just caught a sick, you know, 30-pound bass or something crazy, right? From after they're fishing, listen, and you find out that person's an accountant and you're looking for an accountant, who are you likely to just reach out to and say, by the way, are you an accountant? And you look that person up and you see that they're super reputable, they got crazy, great reviews. Why wouldn't you want to work with somebody that you can talk about something you dread, like paying your taxes, but also talk about, fishing with, right? It just kind of works out of harmony.
yeah, and you want to think of like hobbies that have time horizons that are giving enough time for conversations and relationships to develop. Like golf is a good one. It's why a lot
Hmm.
of wealthy people golf, because it's not too
Connections.
active where a lot of the old guys can still do it, but they have all day to have that conversation. So it's not like a 1 hour lunch where people are trying to
Right.
press business and they're throwing emotion at each other and no one's really getting to a real conversation. When you're on the boat all day fishing with someone for 8 hours, or you're playing golf, or you're doing something where you're sharing in the same enjoyment as the hobby that you both have, but you can engage in the business conversation over time without pressure. This is where a lot of relationships get built. Whereas I think a lot of people try too quick to jump into relationships, and they feel like they may have a 1 hour call or 1 hour lunch with someone, and they run over top of them and bulldoze them and
Yeah.
blow them out the backside. Whereas you want to
Yeah.
kind of just be likable. People are going to do business with those who they like and trust,
Yep.
right? So it's no like and trust
Absolutely.
factor. But so just figure out what you like to do and go find people like you that want to do it, and then figure out how to build businesses. And that's really all you got to think about, is find the environment that you feel comfortable in, and then figure out how to find partners that you want to work with, and then scale a business of whatever type that you guys both think would be one, real estate, insurance, or whatever it is. So when you find people that align right, it doesn't matter really what they do. Once they get that masterminding effect going on, they can go start any business if they have the same work ethic and desire to get to that end game, or the future goal or vision, and never quit along the way. But I think the most important thing is finding people that you can spend time with and not get tired with, and that are not going to blow up and have a division with later. But let's go into, I guess, do you want to go into kind of like, I know you're doing a lot of like mindset type of stuff and motivational
Yeah.
content, which I like personally. So you got agents out there, they're doing property tour videos, some are doing, marketing video, like all sorts of different stuff, but you're
Yeah.
integrating into it a lot of motivational type of talks and clips and shorts and things like that I think is pretty powerful. What made you decide to do that, and where did that kind of come from, your background? You know, where did you kind of stumble into kind of that, motivational type of mindset that you want to start putting that content out there?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it goes back to the authenticity factor. I think that a lot of agents, we have some great agents in our group, as you know, that use home tours as a fantastic lead generation tool. And I tell agents all the time that say, "Hey, how can I use content to build real estate?" I said, "Well, look, one of the number one things you can do, like my agent Destiny, who was making the tours of the luxury Philly homes, is do home tours, right? The Suman Kims of the world, who built massive production businesses from the home tours, because one thing that we do know is people love real estate, right? That's why HGTV and all the real estate shows are so popular because we just love staring and looking and admiring real estate. So home tours are great. But for me, as I mentioned, I never intended to be a lifelong real estate agent. So I could do home tours, but that's not something that I do on a regular basis. But what I do on a regular basis is I try to touch people and impact people. So it only made sense that my content gives me the ability to touch and impact people at scale. So when you think about coming into the real estate business, right? Back in the day, we have such an advantage when it comes to marketing. And if you don't know, great marketing is the key to success, right? Marketing is everything, no matter what you look at. So now, instead of me maybe, trying to work my way into a large crowd to speak or being outside, just trying to find an audience, man, we can just connect with thousands and thousands of people from the click of a button. So I have something motivational on my mind, something I think somebody needs to hear. Maybe not everybody, but somebody needs to hear it. It's going to make somebody's day better. It's going to make somebody get up off the couch. It's going to make somebody make that one more call, do that one more rep at the gym, really dedicate themselves to become the best version of themselves. Just knowing that I can reach so many people through social media and be inspiring and make an impact is awesome. I mean, one of my favorite things about my day, obviously, I love being successful. I love hearing from agents all the time saying, "Hey, man, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and everything's going great." And just love it hearing about all the wins. But I love those strangers that climb in my DM and say, "Hey, man, I saw your daily dose of vitamin K, or I saw your morning motivation, or I saw your what's that new thing on Instagram that everybody's using now? I use Threads, right? Oh, I saw your thread, and you know what? It just made me take a step forward to a dream that I've had." And I'm telling you, Connor, nothing makes me feel better than when I read that. I mean, I look at it, I read it like 100 times. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they sent me that, right? And I just made a new friend and a new connection because to me, you know, I love being a leader and I love being in a leadership role, but I want to lead from a servant leadership perspective. And I think that when you do that, that's where you make the real impact. And you're also not just thinking about yourself, but you're thinking about the greater good of everybody. And I just always been a person that just wants to see people do good. I mean, I love sports, and I always said maybe I was born to be a coach because, as much as I love playing sports, but I also felt like I can do this, but I can probably help a lot of people do this as well. And it's all about that scale for me, right? Not just me doing it, but helping a lot of people do it to bring some good into the world. But I just like good energy too. So that's another reason why I put, the motivational stuff out there, because I'm a big energy person and I just want everybody to have good energy. I hate bad energy, actually. I probably gets on my wife's nerves a little bit, but she's like, sometimes you can be in a bad mood, or sometimes people are allowed to not, be like hyped up the way you are. But I don't know if I can help it. I'm just going to pump the world up with that great energy.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for everybody else coming to watch it from the outside, but it's also good for yourself. So like whenever you're teaching or you're coaching, it makes you stay on top of what you're coaching and teaching, and you're paying a lot more attention to what you're doing. So when we're in that teaching or coaching mentality, it forces us to be more on the educational side ourselves on what we're coaching or teaching on, if that makes sense. So we get a
Oh,
higher level education
100%.
ourselves. And I know when I came up and I was struggling in business, like a lot of the videos that I watched on the internet, people like Les Brown, I'd be sitting there, need 100
Yeah.
grand debt, hate my life in every way. And it was these videos and their stories that kept me going and pushing through. And so, I'm very grateful. And so I do know that how sometimes when you're creating content, you guys, if you're a little bit new on this, you don't feel the kind of feedback. Not always do people give you the messages. Just know that you're helping people, because years down the road, Kenyon, like I know you're getting the quick ones that send to you. What happens is a lot is the longer your channels are out and the more you're doing what you're doing, 2, 3, 4 years down the road is really when you're going to get some strong messages
Oh
sent to you,
yeah.
because this gets people to take what you're teaching them, struggle and fail and apply and figure it out, and then finally get to becoming where they're successful. And they're going to come back and say, "Man, I've been watching you for 3 years," and they're going to run up to you at an event and
Yeah.
tell you, I was about to quit the business, and then I learned this one thing from you, or I was going to give up, and I watched your video and it motivated me to keep going. And then like a week later, I got the deal that kind of led me to get my, so you guys are doing this, just do it. Keep that content going. You are helping people. Just because they're not reaching out yet, they will in the future. And sometimes I think people don't realize that if they're getting 50 or 100 or 500 views on a video, sometimes they think it may be a lot or not a lot. But if you're getting 10 views, and one of those people was going to take their life that night, and you gave them a message that maybe not, was that not the most valuable video that you put out? So sometimes I
So
think people are
impactful.
so, yeah, they're just fixated on views and not realizing that these are real people sharing part of their life. And usually, they're doing it like, especially like you probably see your content gets watched probably, I don't know, maybe not late at night, people sitting up, they're stressed out and they're trying to, motivate themselves to get it the next day. But,
Yeah.
well,
And and like like I was Les Brown is one of my mentors. I was in his coaching program. Eric, I loved Eric Thomas. I did Tony Robbins and Dean's programs. I mean, that stuff motivated me so much. And I know you've been involved and you've invested in those programs too, Connor. And you know how it is. You've been to one of Tony's conferences before, man. You leave
well,
that conference thinking you can freaking just change the world, right? And I want people, I want to be able to make people feel that way, right? Because that's a great feeling, right? So it's good. So I would say too, don't be afraid to invest in yourself, right? Me and Connor, we invest in ourselves, and I think all of the people that we've invested with, that we look up to as mentors, or people that we do knowledge share with, they've invested in themselves. So that's something that I think a lot of people don't look past that. Be willing to invest in yourself, time and money.
yeah. And like, so like if you're struggling right now with friends and family and you don't like where you're at and your sphere of influence isn't where you want it to be, go to an event like that. Go to a Tony Robbins event, go to a local, mastermind event like that. Find people that are pushing forward in life, not sitting there stagnating, going backwards. Find people that are progressive, moving, that are positive. And if you get into a different environment, you'd be shocked how fast your life can change. And in a matter of 2 to 3, 4 years, you can go from completely hating your life in every way and not even seeing a reason to live it, and to get into a different environment with the right people, because the energy that they're bringing to you and the mindset and the goal setting process that they think of how they can go forward and improve can be something completely radically different than what you've been used to. That could be the catalytic moment for you to change and go down this direction, become a successful entrepreneur. It happens to me, happens to Kenyon, happened to a lot of people
Yeah.
where we weren't doing what we wanted in life and probably didn't have the strongest belief that our future was great. And then we changed our environment, we changed the people around, we changed the vehicle that we're driving, meaning we got into real estate, we got into business. And that's when things changed in the life that we had. It was not easy to create, but it was one that we had to, kind of go through this process of reinventing ourselves. And so the first thing is, if you don't like where you're at, move the environment. And then if you don't like the people around you and they're not moving you forward, change the people. So if you change the environment, change the people, and change the future by setting a goal into it to be better, you're going to see a radical change in the next year or two in your life. I promise you. But
Yeah, absolutely.
so I'm actually going to Tony Robbins. I think it's like next month. He's doing UPW in Dallas this year, so you should come out here.
Oh, nice, man. Nice. Yeah. UPW. I don't think I've ever been to UPW before. I went to something else. Um,
It's
it
a
was
business
really, which was
mastery.
really cool.
He's
Yeah,
got
I
it.
think it was. And then I went to him and Dean had the knowledge brokers one, the mindset masters, or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Tony's look, that's he lights it up, man. I will say that. And the clap and the energy, it's a
Yeah,
pretty amazing thing. You've been to a few though, haven't you?
yeah. I went to 2 of them last year actually. I
I
hadn't gone
remember.
to Tony,
Yeah.
and I'd always followed him forever. And what really did it was Jim Rohn and Bob Proctor both passed away. So like some of
Right.
my mentors that like I followed on the internet that were crucial for my self development at the point in my life were I started out following with Napoleon Hill, and then Earl
Yep.
Nightingale, Jim Rohn, Bob Proctor. And Bob Proctor was a big impact on me, and so was Jim. And I never got to meet them. And then Tony's getting older, and I mean he's not that old, but he's got his the issue with his larynx or whatever, his voice, and he may
Right.
not be doing it much more. And so I was like, you know what, I need to get out there and actually go see him in person, because I may not ever get a chance to do this again. And so that's really kind of what made me go do it. But I went to UPW in business mastery, and then I'm going to probably go to UPW again this year. But
Yeah. That'll be.
yeah, it's
Yeah. It's life changing.
going off.
It's life changing. It really is. It's life changing. Like, I mean, Les Brown. The first time I heard him speak, I was a kid. He was the master of ceremonies at a program that I was the master of ceremonies at this program that I was involved. It was an inner city youth program, and he was our special guest and master. And I remember listening to him. I was like, "Geez, this guy, he just knows how to talk." And the crowd is just because Les has that ease of help. You'll laugh, but he's motivational, and then he makes you laugh a little bit. I mean, Les
Yep.
probably sparked off my entrepreneurship journey just because Les Brown, I remember, I'll never forget, he said, most of us, we die at 21, but we don't leave the earth till we're 80. Because he said a lot of times, we're taught to, go out there, get a job, work for, 40 plus years. And, we already died. Right. He said, you died because you're just going to spend your life building someone else's dream and not even trying to build your own. Right.
Yeah.
And it just made me think, because I was successful. I was a corporate America person, successful, but that was never my dream. My dream was, I got to create something. I have to do something. I have to impact people. And there's nothing wrong with having a job. There's nothing wrong with corporate America. I'm not saying everybody is built to be an entrepreneur or even a real estate agent for that matter. But I do think that if you have it in your soul to impact lives, then you got to step away from behind the W-2 desk where, you're just taking orders and you're just in a system of doing something, and really look at, if you are looking to impact lives, are you able to do it from that position that you're at, right? Because look, you can make a good living in corporate America. You can make a good living working for people. I mean, everybody needs somebody to work for them. But just make sure that if you have a mission to impact people, that whatever you do, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a W-2 worker, you can make whatever impact that, your heart wants you to
Yeah.
contribute to the world.
Yeah. I mean, some of the things I really remember from Les when I was like going through that time was like a couple of stories. One was when he's always talking about like, when you're laying on your deathbed and you're looking around at the ghosts of the people, of all the people that you could have helped or impacted, but because you didn't do what you're supposed to do with your life, meaning going after your business or going after goals and dreams and achieving them, all these people standing around your deathbed are looking at you saying that you let me down. I could have been this, or I could have been, so pointing out that we have an impact in our life, that it's not just we're living in our own mind and our own consciousness, we impact everybody around us. And if we don't be all we can be and become who we're supposed to be, then we can actually hurt our friends and our family and all the sphere of influence around us. And now, because of social media, I mean, look at how far you can reach out there. You may be not impacting the world and changing people's lives all around the planet the way you should. And then, the other one was like when he was, tells a story about how when he's trying to get on the radio and he's going down there and, he's getting blown off.
I
And he goes
love
back.
that story.
Yeah, kept getting blown off. And then finally the guy was like, whatever, just get my coffee. And then he talks about how he worked there forever. And so whatever, the guy that was on the radio that was the main host got drunk one day and nobody was there to kind of, help
Rock.
out.
He said Rock. He said Rock. Rock. He's like, where's Rock? And he's like, Rock is drunk. I
Yeah.
love that
And he
story, man.
picks up the phone and tells his mom, I'm coming on the radio, basically. And then he crushed it. And then I forget that saying he has, like when he hopped on, he's like, it's me, the devil.
Oh, yeah, this whole like spiel.
Yeah, he had a little spiel, but it was just really powerful for me going through a time where I was struggling in mass adversity myself, where I didn't see a lot of hope. And, the fact that he just, the persistency of it, just if you try something once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, it's not working, doesn't mean it's not going to work if you keep trying. And so he taught me a lot of that persistence to push through because of that one story. And that's just really important to understand the power of a story. You can hear a story from one person and resonate with it, and it can radically change your effort in your life. And so if you guys are going along your journey, develop it in a story so you can tell it later so that you can help others follow in your footsteps. But yeah, so I used to follow Les Brown a lot. And
Yeah.
well, what's
who's your favorite right now? Like now that like Les and Tony, they're the OGs of the game. Do you who you listen to on a daily basis or pretty often now?
I mean,
Yeah,
I'd say
I
like
do still listen to a lot of the old stuff though. I listen to a lot of old Earl Nightingale. I still listen to a lot of Napoleon Hill. So Les, and I like Eric Thomas a lot now. I mean, he's
yeah.
probably one of my favorites, but there's a lot now. So I'm just curious of who you're vibing with.
Yeah, I mean, I used to listen to Eric Thomas quite a bit and Jolly and like right now, I mean, I still watch people, but not like for like the same motivational and messages.
Right.
Like Jim Rohn and Bob Proctor are probably the two most common. Napoleon got me into personal education, and Earl Nightingale, kind of all that type of stuff. And then Brian Tracy's who I really got into with
Yeah.
goal settings, efficiencies, and time management with Eat That Frog. So it was like mindset, thinking processes, manifestation, attraction was all Napoleon, Earl Nightingale, Jim, and Bob Proctor. Now, Jim Rohn also transcended more network marketing a little bit because he built Herbalife, which resonated a lot with me when I was building this business. And then as I started building this business, the ones that resonated with me a lot were Art Williams. Art Williams got some great motivational stuff. If you don't know who he is, he built A. Williams, which is I think now Primerica, built a large insurance company.
Yep.
He's also a high school football coach, just to give you an idea.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Art Williams, PBD, Patrick David. So I was following Patrick, way before people knew who he was. And actually, he moved to Plano at one point where I live. And I got to meet him in the gym one night. And just to give you a testament and send this little clip to PBD if you get it. But so like, this is just like the testament of the type of character that becomes someone like him. So he moved to Plano for some reason or was here for an extended time. And I go to the gym late at night. It's like 10 o'clock at the time when I was going in the evenings at 10 p.m. And he shows up. I'm like, this guy looks like PBD. And he's walking in and I'm like, is that him? I'm trying to, and he's huge, by the way. He's like probably 6'3", 6'4".
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's big. And he takes this hoodie or whatever off and he's got his entrepreneur shirt on. This is really right at the beginning of when he's kind of taken off. This is probably like 5-6 years ago. And we're in the I'm doing tricep press downs and he's on the other one that's backed up to me. So we got our backs to each other. He came over here now. And I kind of was like, you're Patrick David. And I follow you basically. And, and I started talking to him and I was like, this is right actually. So it was right about 6 years ago. It's right as I joined XP. And I said, I'm starting XP and you've inspired me to build this team partly. And I talked to him. So he went off to the other side of the gym for like an hour. And this is where I wanted to kind of point out when he was leaving, I'm just a random guy. He met one night at the gym. He walked all the way across the gym to stop by on the way out and shake my hand and say, Connor, it's nice to talk to you. And he left the gym. But that just always sat with me that, he didn't have to do that. I'm just, random guy at the gym. But the fact that he remembered my name and also it was important enough for him to come back and do that when there was no future pride benefit. I didn't get his phone number. There was nothing. And, it's just something that resonated with me to know that that's the type of character and person he is, that nobody's watching that. There's no cameras. There's no brownie points. It was just him, with one person. So that's the mentality I think you guys should take. But those are kind of some of the ones I followed recently. I was actually watching PBD last night. And then so like this. So for like network marketing and team building, probably PBD at Milet. Any of the ones that built big businesses. And then, those are probably the ones I've been following the most. And then there's just like, I like to go into, like all sorts of I like older, past generations, I guess. I fall back into, like Art of War and, just like As a Man Thinketh, Richest Man in Babylon, all those old books were, and trainings and mindset coachings were like the ones that got me into kind of this path of personal development. Who are you following right now? Anybody different? Or
that's a good one. Well, I love watching Impact Theory. Do you watch Impact Theory? Impact Theory is a really good show. Yeah. So I check out Impact Theory. He usually has a lot of good guests.
I do watch Joe Dispenza. I've been watching a little bit.
Joe Dispenza. I love Joe Dispenza. Joe's cool. The old Neville Goddard stuff. I don't know if you ever listened to Neville Goddard, but he was like the beginning of, manifestation. Like we're talking, way before a lot of other people. Neville Goddard's good. I'm reading Atomic Habits right now. I'm kind of late to that book, but it's a great book. I'm like probably 75% through it. My bookshelf is right here. I'm reading Outliers. Have you read Outliers yet?
I've not read that.
That's by Malcolm Gladwell. He has a lot of good books. Following wise, like I love Impact Theory. I love, I look at Eric Thomas probably every day because Eric, he has that voice and he just gets me going all the time.
On the badge you want to breathe?
Pardon?
His saying is you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe, and he's got that.
Got to want it as bad. Yeah, you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe. Listen. I love listening to Ed Milet. What's the other guy? David Goggins, right? If you really like down and you want to get some motivation, listen to David Goggins, right? He'll get you going. It's a lot, man. I mean, I spend most of my day, like I love music, but I find myself probably listening to 75% podcasts, interviews, clips, and then maybe 25% music on a weekly basis now, just because I tap into everybody. I like hearing. I like Patrick David too, man. I think, he's super insightful. Trying to think of who else, man. There's a lot. I take a lot of them in. I'm like a walking quote machine too. So, at any given moment I can quote somebody.
it's important to be able to pull those quotes out of the mind. That's how Ty Lopez kind of blew up when you really think
Yeah.
about it. He was always pulling quotes out of books that he read, and he was selling those 67 steps when he was doing his book course and all that type of stuff. But you know, like when you're going through all this, are you conscious of it? Like where you're meaning, okay, I'm waking up today, like I'm going to have my business day and I got my everything else I'm going to do, but I'm going to have an hour at this time. Or I know that when I get in the car, I turn my audio on for this commute to wherever I'm going. Or is it just you're trying to figure out throughout the day when to put it in, or is it planned all your kind of personal growth, education? Is it all planned ahead of time when you're going to do this? So you're every day you're doing an hour of reading, or is it just kind of when you can get it in?
So I'm super intentional, and I would say that if I had to give anyone advice, be very intentional about your day and where you spend your time, right? Because money is one thing. I mean, I can tell you how much money I have. Connor can tell you how much money I have. We don't want to tell you probably how much money we have, but that's you can see that. But the one thing you can't put a number, a date on, you can't, you're not in control of is time. So me personally, the first 3 hours of my day, I wake up somewhere between around 4:15 and 5:15, right in between that hour. And the first thing I do is I'm big on affirmations. So I don't know, some people might think affirmations are weird. I love affirmations. Uh, I love listening to positive things. So anything that's positive, I try to listen to that first thing in the morning, because they also say the first 20 minutes of your day, what you take in, is going to be a big reflection of your day, your attitude, your mental. Um, I'm trying to get better at meditating. So part of that first few hours of my day, I would say about the first 2.5, 3 hours of my day are just me time and mental time, where um, I try to meditate. So I do guided meditations. I just, because I'm newer to meditation, I have not been able to meditate by myself. I typically do the guided meditation because I feel like they help take me to that other place. And I've gotten better with not thinking meditation was about stopping your thinking, because that's not possible. If you stop thinking, you're dead, by the way. So please don't ever force yourself or wish you could stop thinking. It's just not going to happen. But meditation is just a way to control your thoughts, right? So my personal meditation is I meditate about abundance. I only listen to guided meditation that have something to do with abundance, with higher self, with thinking at a higher level. I work out, so I go to the gym. I'm usually in the gym. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably see I'm usually leaving the gym somewhere before 6 a.m. So typically between my affirmations, praying, meditating, gym, all that, I try to happen before 6. And then I typically read before, and I'm finished reading before 7 a.m. Because 7 a.m., to be honest with you, that's when my kids start waking up. And that's when the house starts to get a little chaotic. So for me, I feel like between those, 2.5, 3 hours from waking up before 7 a.m., I've already won my day, because now I've done everything I had to do to prepare myself mentally. My soul is refreshed. I drink a lot of water in the morning. My soul is
Yeah.
refreshed. Take any type of supplements or whatever, and the rest of the day is just business and connections and some fun. Like I coach my son's football team. I coach basketball. My daughter is playing travel soccer. I want to spend some time with my family. So I've already won by 7 a.m. And I think that's the key to it. So I'm very intentional about that. And actually, to be honest with you, Connor, I get upset if I oversleep. Like if I wake up for some reason, I wake up at 6:30, I just feel like my day is screwed. I really do. And for most people, 6:30 is a pain to wake up at 6:30 anyway. If I wake up that late, I just feel like I've lost so much of my day already. Because I don't stay up late either. I'm not like a night owl. I fall asleep somewhere around 10 p.m. at night. So, and that's because I do want to make sure that I stay on track. I mean, look, you're going to go on vacation, you're going to get off track sometimes. You're going to, maybe have some whiskey or whatever and not want to get up as early, but it happens. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I think that you have to be intentional about your day. And then from that morning intention, then I do separate it to, okay, well, now I got to get intentional about business, right? So now it's, how am I blocking off my day, where it comes to who am I meeting with today? Who do I need to call today? How many emails need to go out? How many emails do I need to respond to? What are my goals for the day? So I do a lot of goal setting during the day. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I took from a goal setting perspective, I just read this actually in Atomic Habits. So the biggest mistake we make with goals is we set goals and we use the goal as the finish line, right? So let's just take a really easy example for most people. Most people may set a goal and say, I want to run a marathon, right? And the goal is up until the marathon, you're going to eat right, you're going to work out, you're going to run every day and get in the best shape of your life so you can make it through the marathon. And then when the marathon comes, you stop working out, you stop eating right, you stop preparing yourself because now you have nothing to prepare for. The goal isn't to run a marathon. The goal should be to become a runner. So after the marathon, you're same those same habits that have you eating the best, feeling the best, looking the best. You want to keep those things going. So a lot of times we have to change the way we look at goals. It's not the goal of completing it, it's the goal of becoming something,
Yeah.
right? So, and I'm starting to take that into mind.
Yeah, and it's important because like if they're going to do that, let's say they're going to try to get to a fitness competition, they're going to do it the unhealthy way, and they're going to crash and burn, and they're going to get to stage, and they're going to be in looking great shape, but they're unhealthy, and as soon as it's over, they let themselves go. Whereas you don't want to do things where you're doing things too aggressive to like if you're looking at like fitness is like a lifelong goal, you can slowly
Right.
build into a pattern that you can maintain and not burn out. Whereas if you're trying to just like, I'm going to hit this, like we're going to a wedding or school starts in 2 months and you're going to try to crash and burn, like what happens is you see people have this radical weight drop and then they can't keep it on because they couldn't keep that pace and their energy levels were too low and they were starving themselves and they couldn't, they were always feeling faint and then they just, whatever it is, they can't keep it. So the goal is like saying is to develop the goal for life, be that
Yep.
person, become that person instead of doing it for a snapshot of time or just like a little window of time. But
Yeah.
as far as like affirmations go, like I guess Hormozy came out with like a quote that says, like screaming into a mirror. And I like Hormozy, but like a lot of people, brought that up on something recently, and I mean, I've personally used affirmations a lot through my life, where I do
Yeah.
believe the affirmations work, and I don't think people look at goals or manifestation or affirmations the right way because they dabble in something for a second. But like understanding what an affirmation does is if you're speaking an affirmation or listening to affirmation, your focus is on what's being spoken, and so we move towards what we focus on. So if you're always focusing on negative things, you're probably going to not feel great because what we
Yeah,
think
for
on is
sure.
when we have a thought, it triggers the emotional feeling in our body. So, why can music change your emotions real quick or change your state? Or if I gave you a
Mood
phone call and said
shifters.
bad news came in, one of your loved ones died, immediately you're going to react to it. But what if it was a joke and it was a bad April Fool's Day and they weren't dead? The belief that happened shifts the emotional state. So when we're saying these things and focusing on these things, words have meaning or have value to them, and power in them, and they cause our emotions. So I used to, have a bunch of abundance emotions or abundance affirmations, and I would have them as affirmations, but also in goals at the same time. And I would listen to this on audio tape every time I got in the car, and there was probably over 150 of them. And then in the evenings, going to bed, I'd put it on real light where it's really quiet, but I could still hear it. And I'd go to bed listening to these affirmations and I'd play them all the way through the night. Some of them were like 8-hour tapes on loop
Yeah.
because your unconscious is still moving or still acquiring, an active where your conscious mind may be sleeping. So it helped me big time throughout my life, stay
Oh
focused
yeah.
on what I'm trying to achieve. But then just the other thing, it's just not just the mental side, but the physical side that you're mentioning. How much, and we've got about 10 minutes left here. How much has your physical activity resulted, do you think, in your business results? Because I think a lot of people don't understand that
Yeah.
there's a new guy that's kind of going up all over the internet. Saying, what's his? He's like a sales guy, Andy something. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's
Andy.
jacked. He's talking about if you don't have a six pack, you don't have a bank account or something. It's Andy
Oh
something.
yeah, I've seen
And
that guy. Yeah, I haven't paid attention to him, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah. So
yeah,
I do that same thing, by the way. I did forget to mention that. I got my AirPods in at night and I listen to night affirmations. So night meditation. So while you're sleeping or if you have a Bose speaker, they like Brian Scott is one I listen to a lot. He has these 8-hour night meditations where it's just constant, kind of like a feed, and you don't even realize you wake up thinking about it, right?
mm,
Um, and then I would say the biggest part about affirmations, law of attraction, is the action part, right? So it's when you
sure,
to believe it is to be it. So if you do believe it, you'll be it. But in between that believing and being is the take action part. But the physical part, no, I 100% know from experience, and I believe you would resonate with this as well, Connor. When I'm out of shape, I'm not motivated. My mental is not. I'm so out of sync, right? So, for instance, what every time I go on vacation, and I'll be honest, I never really, I say I'm gonna work out when I'm on vacation. I rarely ever get a chance to work out because I'm just enjoying my time, right? I got kids running around, my family, I'm eating all the good stuff from vacation.
Yeah.
Coming back from vacation is always a challenge, right? Let's say you come back home on a Sunday, and to get back into your groove by Monday, it's tough. I don't feel good, right? But once you get back in the groove, I feel good. My thoughts are good. And I just feel like when you feel good, you look good. And when you look good, you just feel good and you tend to perform better. So to me, the physical part, that's why I do think it's very important. And it's something that look, I struggle with it because I live in New Jersey. So I got access to cheesesteaks, I got access to pizza, I got access to the Jersey
Yeah.
Shore food, everything you could think of, right? And I enjoy all that stuff. But I try to do it in moderation now. One, I'm a little older, but but I do it because I know that I notice too when I'm eating clean, like I do meal prep, I get a service delivered.
Me too.
The weeks that I get my meal preps delivered, I feel amazing. Like my energy levels are higher, my mood is better. The weeks that maybe, oh, I missed a cut, they're not going to deliver my meals on time, and I tell myself I'm going to eat healthy, but I end up, getting some fast food a little bit more than often, or just, oh, let me go get a cheesesteak, which I love, but I might get it twice that week because I don't have my meal prep. I just don't
Yeah.
feel as good. I really don't. I think you're going to perform at optimal levels when you're taking care of your body. I really do. When you're taking care of what goes inside your body and you're taking care of how you train your body. I think you're just going to be in the best mental state of your life as well when you're doing that. So I truly believe that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like when you don't feel well, you're not going to work hard, and you're not going
No,
to push the adversity. You're not going to work long hours, and when you're exhausted, you're going to sit down. So, like the
right.
things that I see cause people to burn out a lot of times is they don't have the right sleeping patterns. They're not sleeping enough. They're not staying hydrated. They don't have the right diet, and they don't work out. A lot of times, these are what burn people out in business is because
Yeah.
their body's not strong to carry the workload that they're putting on it, and it's too much for them. And instead of pushing through, they sit down because they can't handle it. It's literally
Right.
breaking the back. Um,
I mean, think about this, Connor. I mean, some of the richest people in the world, they're not good looking people. I mean, let's be honest. Some of the people that, we can go down a list of the Fortune, 100 richest people in the world list or whatever Forbes list. They're not good looking people, right? Um, so yeah, they're wealthy and they're rich, but I don't know how happy they are because your happiness does come from what you see and what reflects back to you, right? But hey, they're addicted to their business, they're addicted to whatever they're doing, but it's also why at the end of the day, you can be super wealthy, but if you're not taking care of your body, what's the point? You're not even going to be around. You're not going to be able to take advantage of the blessings and the wealth that you have.
yeah, because if you're sick and you don't feel good, how does that make your emotions change? So if you're always
Right.
focusing on, chronic pain or you're having ulcers and you're having acid reflux and things like that, it's going to change how you feel. You're not going to feel good. And then you're going to have a bad attitude, and your bad attitude is going to run people away and run business opportunities away. And so when we feel good, we have a good attitude and we attract people towards us. And a lot of that comes, from what we put into our body. Even Napoleon
Yeah.
Hill is all big about that, talking about, fasting and, drinking squeezed orange juice and things like that. What we put into our body directly relates to what we do with our body. And so I try to tell people like wealthy people don't realize that money's not the currency of wealthy people. Emotions are, meaning you could have $1 billion or $1 trillion, but if you talk like Steve Jobs when he was on his deathbed, he would have given all that money to have another day or another year back.
Absolutely.
So when you're going through that and you're thinking you're having chronic pain or you're having a major illness or your family or your children aren't going or are not doing well, you can be the wealthiest person in the world, but if all your kids have jacked up lives, how are you emotionally? How do you feel in your body? The
Right.
money can't make that go away. So if you don't feel good emotionally and feel good inside your body, it doesn't matter what you have around you. That's really what you guys need to be focused on. That's what success is how to live in your body. And some of you guys don't even need money. You may make 100 grand a year, be broke. You go to Africa and you see people running around streets, static, living life because they got no pressure. They're not chasing money. So whatever it takes to develop happiness inside of you and a content with your life that you're living, that's what you should be pursuing. Now, a lot of times I think people think that money, building a business is going to get that to them. And it does. Money is going to help solve a lot of problems, but it's not going to make you happy,
Hmm.
but it will
Right.
solve problems that could make you unhappy quicker
Oh
than
yeah,
if you didn't.
for sure.
But ultimately, find who you are, and that's going to come from developing yourself, like we've been talking about here, mentally and physically and spiritually, and knowing who you are and being a good person in your community and helping others do the same and fall behind you. That's what's really going to make you happy. So it's like, Kenyon's
Absolutely.
got money, but I guarantee you, he likes his family more, and then he likes when people send him comments saying your video helped me, and he knows he's helping more because that's what fulfills them. But
Yeah,
we're gonna wrap
change
this
your
one up, man.
lives.
I'm for you coming on here. I think we touched on a number of good topics. Is there anything else that you want to kind of touch on the way out here? A last message you want to share with people, and how to go check out your YouTube channel and your social media where you guys can see some of the things he's putting out? I think it'd be worth your time to go over there and check out his channel.
Yeah, this has been awesome, man. I'm thankful that you had me on for sure. Um, I just want to share to people like just stay motivated, believe in yourself, become the best version of yourself. You have some dreams the world needs, and as someone being out in the world, we all want to experience each other's dreams. So go ahead and put those dreams out to the world. For me, Instagram is my number one platform. I'm real estate agent 007, so not a hard one to remember. Real estate agent 007. YouTube is Kenyon Hunter Evolution Ave, which is something that me and Connor were talking about. YouTube is something I want to put a lot more focus on. And our group, thankfully, has so many tools to help us build pretty much every social media channel, especially YouTube, because YouTube is a very captivating channel. I spend most of my time on YouTube, so I figure it's only right that I start to build up my YouTube presence more and more. And yeah, you can always reach me, Kenyon at evolutionavgroup.com. If you ever have any questions about us, real estate, entrepreneurship, the Wolf Pack, life, the US, always happy to
Mhm.
help and make an impact if I can.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to hop on a call and see what it's like to work with us here at XP, let us know. But yeah, I mean, I think I told you this maybe it was like a year ago. You know, YouTube and social media is weird where you're kind of trying to gain traction and get it out there. But I think once your channel kind of really gets out, kind of like I had like one video runs off, like I had my Investor Army video run off. I think when a lot more people discover you, your channel's going to explode because I do think you have a genuine, strong message, and I think you have what it takes. It's just keep pumping them out, just like we're talking about Les Brown.
Yeah.
Just keep going in and just doing it because at some point it's going to pop for you. And I'm excited to see what happens for you long term. But
Yeah,
go
absolutely.
check
Thank
it
you.
out, guys, and subscribe to it. And other than that, guys, I'll see you on the next one. And thank you, Ken. We'll
Yeah,
get you.
you got it.
We'll get you soon.
You got it. Later on,
Peace.
guys.